Hello again, baseball fans. Jason back with you for the Fans Journey podcast from the RAB network. As we have taken a few weeks off from this series, but getting back to it today to continue my journey of fandom through my younger years, which seemed like a long time ago now. We are up to 1995, and as I mentioned in the previous episode, we'd be discussing the 1995 Braves and finally reaching the pinnacle of the baseball world after a very long wait. And I'm very excited to have a new face on our podcast this week. Michael Simpson is joining us to talk all things Braves in 1995 as well. We are about the same age, we discovered. And Mike joined us for our recent roundtable discussion on free agency on our RAB podcast, The Mothership. And he is going to be joining me starting in January as we look ahead to the 2026 season on the 9521 Atlanta Baseball Podcast. As we get that podcast going again for all the Braves fans out there, Mike is going to join me as co host and talk all things Braves. Mike, if you want to introduce yourself real quick and just give us a rundown and talk about joining us for the 9521.
I'm happy to join. I just love being able to talk about the Braves. Don't get to do it often since I live up in Massachusetts, so it gives me an outlet to get all of my information out instead of annoying people that I work with.
Right. And me and Mike have talked about this off camera, but Mike, tell them real quick about, how you're in Boston and you're from that area, but you're a Braves fan. Just give them a quick background on that.
Well, my family grew up Red Sox fans, but I never got the love. I never understood the love behind that team, and Red Sox fans, you can be Red Sox fans. I get it. You love it, but I didn't see the love. Fenway's beautiful, but didn't really care. So it's eventually I just got like I decided I can't watch them. So I only had a couple of options with what we had for TV, and it was WWOI, which was the Mets. Uh, After becoming a Braves fan, that's a no-brainer as to why I wouldn't pick them. But my other option was TBS, and so I became, as we all know, was a TBS kid, and grew up watching the Braves 91, 92. Uh, I remember the Game 7 of the NLCS, and I was recording it on a VCR. That's clearly dating ourselves.
Yes.
Um, but went to bed in the sixth inning because I had to get up for school, freshman in high school, and I'm like, I can't. I need to. My mom was like, you need to go to bed, so I did. I said, but I'm recording it. Let me watch the rest of it. Wake me up early. I want to watch the rest. So, seventh, eighth, nothing happens. Ninth inning comes up, and I can probably recite most of the bottom of the ninth in my head right off.
Absolutely.
Just Sid slid, and we just went crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I shared that memory on the last episode, I think it was. And I too was supposed to go to bed, but I got an exemption that night and I was alone in the living room because my family was going to sleep. They weren't big on baseball. And I stayed up and had to, when you do that kind of silent yelling and cheering, I was trying to be quiet, not to wake the family, but I listened to Skip actually. The first part of the call, I was listening to the radio. I was so nervous I couldn't watch. And then I ran
Mhm.
back to the living room just in time to actually see it on the TV. So great memory, fantastic. And, it speaks as we kind of set this up to go into the 1995 season. That was a great memory, but we didn't win the World Series. And then 93 didn't get out of the NLCS. Those rowdy Phillies took us out. And then of course, 94, which I talked about in the last episode, an unfortunate season that was lost. No World Series. We lost a chance to see Tony Gwynn do some special things, perhaps. Matt Williams. Just a lot of the Montreal Expos very well may have taken the Braves playoff spot that year. So here we
And
are.
broken the streak because we had a,
Yes.
a
Yeah.
14-year streak, and if I guess that's the good thing. They didn't didn't
Probably.
didn't win the division, so we could
Yeah.
keep the streak going. But yeah,
True. That would have ended or the 14 game streak or 14-year streak of winning the division would never have happened. Perhaps.
yep,
I think the Braves were about 6 games back
yep.
when the season was suspended. 1st of August ish, I believe, is when that season
I want to say 14th, but I could be wrong also.
Yeah, somewhere first couple weeks. So,
Yeah,
yeah, so that and then baseball wasn't really on track to get back even before 1995. I don't know how many people remember that the 95 season started about a month late. I think it was
correct.
finally like I think the federal court system got involved and kind of forced the two sides to come back together. And the season got started about a month late, and I think they ended up playing a 144 game season, which is what they
I
used
believe
to
so.
play
Yeah.
back in the older days. So the Braves went into that season, Mike, and I remember being a heavy favorite to be a World Series contender. They had the
Yep.
starting pitching rotation of all time, perhaps maybe the best of all time, arguably. Maddox, Smoltz, Glavine. Steve Avery was still part of the team and
Yep.
still pitching well at that point before injuries kind of derailed him. They had gained, of course, in '93. They had added Fred McGriff, future Hall of Famer Fred McGriff, who added power to that lineup that they already had David Justice in the lineup. Ryan Klesko became kind of a big power
Yep.
hitter that year. Mr. Klesko was close your eyes, swing as hard as you can, and when he made contact, it would fly out of the ballpark. And then they had added Marquise Grissom, the speed factor,
Center. Yep.
at the leadoff spot. Just an all around really good baseball team. And I remember feeling like going to that season, maybe this is it. Maybe, but we also
Have we
had
done
some.
enough?
Yeah, have
Uh,
we done enough? That's a great point. Mark Wohlers, closer,
yeah.
that had been I won't say closer had been an issue for the Braves. Alejandro Pena had kind of been that role the first couple years of this run. But there were times when that didn't work out great. So Wohlers had come in and kind of solidified that spot. And I think, there was a big pun intended here, wild card for that season. It was the first year because of the '94 strike that we got to see the expanded playoff system with the wild card. And I don't remember if people really remember this, Mike. Maybe you do. It was very odd that first season, at least, and they may have fixed it after a season or two. But that first season, the wild card team got to play the first game,
At
the
home.
first two games at home. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think it was 2-3. They got the first two games at home,
Yeah,
and we
two,
would get
three.
the.
You're
Yep.
right. And that's so weird. I remember the Braves had to open up with the Rockies, who were only a few years old at that point, but had
Yeah.
gained the wild card spot. So
Third year total,
yeah, and that
and
would have
and they
been
make the
like
playoffs.
the Larry Walker, Vinny Castilla Rockies, if I'm yeah,
Down to Pichette. Yep.
Dante Bichette. Yeah. So yeah, so 1995, as far as me personally, and I think Mike, he and I had talked, we're like I said, about the same age, but I had just graduated high school in June of '95. And so I was I was working back then. I had started working at 16 part time. I worked at a pizza joint. And that summer, I had saved enough money. Plus, people give you money when you graduate high school. So I'd saved up a good amount of money. I said, you know what? I'm going to take the fall off because I really liked college football back then as well. And I knew the Braves were going to be in the playoffs. I'm like, I'm just going to take the fall off. I'm out of school, enjoy the fall sports season. And so I was, not working. I was out of school, and it was all sports. It was a fall of just diving into sports and the Braves and college football. And so going into that playoff series, and I've talked in previous episodes, Mike, about this connection I have to TBS, to my grandparents who introduced me to baseball and Braves baseball, the announcers for the Braves back then, Skip Carey and Ernie Johnson, Pete Van Wieren, all those guys, Don Sutton, Joe Simpson, who's still around, amazingly, and how important it was. It's funny when you're younger, the things that you think are super important. Um, and it was super important to me then. I was like, I want to watch the Braves win one World Series while my grandparents are alive, right?
Hmm.
And in 1985, my grandparents weren't that old. They were old to me because I was 18. But they would go on. My grandfather would live another 15 years beyond that. My grandmother 25 years beyond that. She just missed seeing the 2021 World Series. So it turned out to be fine, but I just remember how important that was. Like this was a huge deal for me, right? And so we get into the playoffs. The Rockies were up first, and I believe they took one of the first two games in Colorado, or did they get one in Atlanta? I should
I
have done.
honestly don't
I
remember.
should have done my
I
research.
I know we swept the next round, but I do not remember the wild card round.
I'll use my trusty baseball reference while we continue to talk. I'm pretty sure they got. I know they got one game in that series. Um, but the Braves would advance. And for those who are not familiar with how that started, so that was the first year of the wild card. The Rockies were the wild card team. The Braves had won the NL East. I don't remember a lot of Um, Tension about winning the East that year. I think the Braves won it pretty comfortably. I'd have to look up the standings as well, but it seems like they won that pretty comfortably. And that wild card series, just like it is now, or the LCS, I guess it wasn't a wild card series then. It was the LDS, the division series, was best of five, just like it is now, because there was only the one wild card. So
Rockies got game three.
they got game three, so they did get one in Atlanta. So the Braves took the first two in Colorado, dropped game three in Atlanta, and then clinched the series at Fulton County Stadium. Good old Fulton County Stadium.
Yep.
Um, and then they moved on to face the Cincinnati Reds, who were pretty formidable. It feels like that team was pretty good. That would have been the Barry Larkin Reds. And I think surprisingly, Mike, to a lot of people, the Braves swept the Reds in four games. It really dominated that series. It was all Braves all the way. So there they are back in the World Series, and here we go again, right after 1991. Just missing with the Twins, and
Yep.
oftentimes I hear people talk about how great these Braves teams were, but they only got the one title. And I think I've said my piece on this on the 9521 and other formats, but 1991 that series could have gone either way. And had the Braves had home field advantage, they would have won that series. Whatever
Yeah.
team had home field advantage was going to win. 92, I
I
thought
mean,
the Blue Jays were just a better team. I just thought
in
they were.
'91, it literally went 10 innings in game seven. Like you can't get
Yes.
any closer than that.
Yes. And the
It's
Braves messed up a couple of chances to score in
Yep.
that because they lost 1-0. Jack Morris was great, but the Braves did have a couple opportunities and did not take advantage of it. So yeah, that could have gone either way. And that was people when they look back on it now. I think a lot of casual baseball fans don't realize we didn't have Greg Maddux then either. Maddux
No,
didn't come along until '93. So even in '92, we get the Blue Jays. I just thought the Jays were a little bit better team. Um, again, we lost in six games. We had a chance to tie game six and get it to a seventh game. And to this day, a lot of Braves fans don't understand Otis Nixon dropping down a bunt with the tying run on. But that was Nixon's forte. Nixon's not going to be the guy to hit a gapper, a double,
no.
and maybe not even a single actually. So our best chance was probably laying down a bunt. So another close loss, but a really good Blue Jays team that went on, of course, to win back-to-back titles. And then we get the Cleveland Indians in the '95 World Series. Maybe one of the best offensive baseball teams I've
Yeah.
ever seen, that Cleveland team. What are your memories of that Cleveland team, Mike?
I remember them just absolutely killing people during the regular season. I want to say it 103 and 54 or something like that, or maybe it was 154. I'm not sure. It was
100, 144. Yep.
144.
Because
So
of the short
yeah,
season. Yep.
absolutely. I mean, in 144 games to win 100, that's a lot. You're killing people. They were mashing everything, and our pitching
Yeah.
actually worked out that year.
Yeah. They uh they swept the Red Sox in the division series that year. They beat the Mariners. That was a very good Mariners team back then. The Ken Griffey Jr. Mariners. They swept them, or excuse me, beat them 4-2 in the ALCS. So that lineup, man, of course, Jim Tomei, Albert Bell, Kenny Lofton, Manny Ramirez, Eddie Murray, uh, Paul
Robbie
Sorrento.
Alomar.
Yeah, Alomar, Sandy Alomar. I mean, that team was loaded. And they had okay pitching. I mean, they had Oral Hershiser, the old Bulldog, was on that
Mm-hmm.
team. Dennis Martinez, who certainly
Yep.
had
El
his
Presidente.
moments. Yeah, he was pretty good. I think he was. I'm looking at that now. He was 12-5. Charles Nagy, kind of a forgotten name. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
he was 16-6 that year for the Indians, and so was Hershiser, same exact record. So they were loaded. Jose Mesa, Julian Tavares in the bullpen. Old Paul Ossenmacher, former Brave, was in that
Yep.
bullpen. So just a loaded offensive baseball team. So you really had kind of a dream baseball matchup between the best pitching staff, maybe in history. Certainly, you
Mm-hmm.
can make that argument against one of the better offensive teams of all time statistically. And naturally, that being said, games one and games two both were decided by one single
Mm-hmm.
run. Um, any memories from that early part of the series? I remember early on being just terribly nervous every time Kenny Lofton would come to bat. You wanted to keep that guy off the bases. You knew if
Because
he got on base, you were probably in trouble.
yeah,
Uh,
a walk turns into a double, and
Absolutely.
you throw it
Absolutely.
away. He's on third. So yeah, it's really fast guy. Just, I mean, premier base stealer in the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you said it.
he gets on, and you're afraid that he's going to
Yes.
score pretty
Yes.
easily. A gapper from you get a gapper into either gap, he's probably scoring from first.
Yeah, and the Indians actually drew first blood in game one in the series. They scored a run off Maddox in the top of the first,
Hmm.
and I believe Lofton keyed that with a hit, and then he would later score. So, but that would be the Indians would only get two hits. They would score one more run in the ninth, and the Braves would slip out of there. Maddox gets the win, a 3-2 win for Atlanta to take a 1-0 lead in the series. Belliard, the little guy, Rafael Belliard, the shortstop, would have an RBI as well as McGriff and Luis Polonia, who played a kind of
Yeah.
a key role for that team in the '95 postseason. He also contributed an RBI, and the Braves got out of game one with a 3-2 win. Game two, I mean, when you're the other team, by the way, you got Maddox going in game one. Then you got Glavine. I mean, you got to be, which I'm sure the Indians were very confident because of the offense they had. But man, you run into Maddox and Glavine to start a series, Mike. That's got to be pretty rough.
Exactly. You back-to-back Cy Young Award winners, and then I mean, later on you get Smoltz, who hadn't won a Cy Young yet, but he was going to. I mean, you're running. It's murderer's row for pitchers, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. So game two, again, the Indians would take the early lead, top of the second. Eddie Murray would hit a two-run homer off Glavine, and so they had an early 2-0 lead. But the Braves would come right back in the bottom of the third and get on the board themselves. Javi Lopez would have a two-run homer in this game, and Dave Justice and Chipper Jones would chip in, pun intended, with a couple of RBI, and the Braves would come back to win this one 4-3. So not a dominant performance by Glavine in game two, but spoiler alert, Tommy's going to have a pretty good performance coming up later in the series. But the Braves go to Cleveland up 2-0, and I think Cleveland fans were still fairly confident, Mike. They had been really good. Well, they'd been really good, period, but they'd been really good at the Jake, as it was called
Yep.
back then, at home. And now they're headed home for three straight games. And the Braves had a little bit of a stigma against them of not being able to win a World Series game on the road. They'd won one in Toronto, but of course, they weren't able to take a game at the Metrodome in '91, and they only got the one game at Skydome back then in Toronto. So there was still kind of this stigma around the Braves. And to go back home for Atlanta to have a chance to clinch it, they really needed to steal a game. They almost did it in game three. Game three was a classic. It would go to extra innings in Cleveland. But the Indians would have the last laugh in game three. And I don't have it in front of me. I want to say Eddie Murray actually had the walk-off hit in that game. Do you remember that one off top of your head?
I'm looking at it right
I
now.
believe he did.
I want to say you're right. It was final was 7-6.
Yes.
Um,
And I think I've got it here. Eddie Murray. Yeah. Yes. Eddie Murray single to left, and Espinoza scored on that play. So Eddie Murray played a good part for and Eddie Murray was getting later on during this in the years during this series, but he was still very effective at that time. One of the greatest, if not the greatest, switch hitter of all time, Eddie Murray. And so the Indians would get it down to 2-1. And the key game here would be game four, because this was the one, and I'll go into a little bit of storytelling mode here. I used to get really nervous watching these games. I still do. My wife's sitting very close to me, and she knows even today playoff games get me. But I'd be super nervous. I watched most of these games, almost every pitch at my grandparents' house with them in their living room. But for game four, a good buddy of mine who's also a big Braves fan, we decided to go out at night in the cold, um, as cold as it gets in South Alabama,
I
and do
was going to
some,
say the cold, really, really.
yeah, I mean, ish, um, and get on the boat. He was a big fisherman. We liked to fish back then, and do some crappie fishing. Mike, I don't know if you knew about crappie fishing, but you do it at night.
Yeah.
It's kind of like brim fishing, and you basically just put the pole out there and wait, so it's not a lot of work involved. So we had the radio on, listening to the World Series, and doing a little fishing, and it helped keep some of the tension off, without watching it on TV. So we watched the first probably 6 innings or so. I remember Klesko had a huge home run in this game. and we made it back to my grandparents' house in time to watch like the final two innings, and the Braves got game four. It was a 5-2 win, so it was not one of those nail biters, but anytime you're in the World Series and it's within 2 or 3 runs, I'm sure we were still very nervous. And the Braves had a 3-1 lead and a chance to clinch the series in game five.
It was the only game of the six games that it was more than a one-run win for either
Correct,
team. Yeah,
which is insane,
yeah.
really. It really is. This doesn't get talked about as one of the great World Series, probably because it didn't go seven. But when you think about 5 of the 6 games went 1 run, one in extra innings, that's pretty tense, pretty exciting. Maybe not for Cleveland fans, but I think it was a very exciting series. So the Braves had a chance. They would have clinched it, if they could clinch it on the road in game five. But as you just mentioned, we would have yet another 1-run game, and Cleveland would hang on and force this game back to Atlanta. And of course, as a Braves fan and as somewhat of a pessimist when it comes to my own teams, I was already, thinking about the headlines: Braves blow 3 games to one series lead, and Indians come back to win the series. I was not super confident even going back home up 3-2. Do you? Or yeah, 3-2. Do you remember how you were feeling as that series changed back to Atlanta?
I mean, growing up here, same thing. Red Sox fans had the long curse, but I mean, my football team, up until 2001 hadn't won anything, so always very pessimistic up here. Like the only thing we had that we expected to win was basketball, but
Right.
the Celtics have 18 championships now, but
Yes.
um, that was the only thing that we had any confidence in actually winning.
Yeah, I was still, very nervous. I really just wanted it to be over because the tension, was building. We had waited for this. We had survived the late 80s when I became a fan when the Braves were really bad. They were not going to be finishing anywhere near the top of the division. And then, of course, 91, 92, the World Series losses. And then 93, not even making the World Series. Then we went through the strike in a season where we thought we might have a shot to get there. And so finally, we arrive at 1995, and we arrive at Game Six at Fulton County Stadium. Tommy Glavine's on the mound. Um, you feel like things are good, but going into that series, there was also, or that game, there was also a little bit of negative press as Dave Justice had opened his mouth, which he is prone to do even today. And he had mentioned that the Braves fans might not be showing out and showing up like they were before, but that maybe they were starting to take things for granted because they were very into it in 91, of course, as we made that run to the title, the division title. And then they were very into it in 92. But he felt like things had tailed off a bit. And I'm not sure he was wrong, Mike. I remember myself thinking that a little bit.
I mean, I can't speak to the crowds because I wasn't there, but I mean, what he did was what he said he was doing was trying to light a fire under the fan
Yes.
and trying to get them out there and to be loud.
Yep.
It worked.
It did. And so it did. And so game six, and again, I think it's important to go back and remember how good this Cleveland offense was all season. And so
Hmm.
if you go back and you look at the final scores, even looking at the final scores doesn't really tell you the tale. They scored 2 runs, 3 runs, 7 runs, and then 2 runs, and then 5 runs. So it doesn't sound as bad as it really was. The Braves really shut that offense down. They didn't
Yeah.
have an explosion. The 7-6 game was the most runs, and that took 11 innings. So the Braves really held them down. And game six was Tom Glavine's masterpiece against this offense in a game six with all that pressure. And we really wouldn't, as Braves fans, see anything else like this until 2021 with Max Fried really helping the Braves to that title. So Tommy goes out and hurls 8 innings of shutout, one hit ball. But the Braves were not scoring runs either as we got through the fifth inning, and it's still scoreless. And I remember the tension just unbearable at this point as an 18-year-old kid. I'm at my grandparents'. I'm watching this play out, and I'm like, man, we just got to get a run. We got to get a run. And kudos to Dennis Martinez, who started that game for Cleveland. He pitched 4 and 2/3, kept the Braves down, and he did walk 5, but the Braves were unable to take advantage of that. Jim Poole would come in, and bless his heart, he would end up facing Dave Justice. And my lasting memory from this, Mike, and I'm sure it's the same for a lot of Braves fans. And I remember jumping up from my spot on my grandparents' couch
Like that.
as soon as it was hit. But my lasting memory is Tony Pena, the Cleveland catcher, slamming his mask down on the dirt as soon as Justice made contact because he knew.
You knew it was gone,
And
yeah.
and so Justice backed up his talk and went from villain to hero in about point 0.2 seconds as that ball sailed over the right field wall at Fulton County Stadium. I think at that moment we probably knew we're going to do this, but it's still only 1-0 in
We
the sixth.
hoped.
We
We
hoped,
hoped it was
yes.
enough.
I think deep down inside us we knew, but yes, at that point, 3 more at bats for that Cleveland team seemed like a lot. And
Yeah.
credit to Bobby Cox, and different game back then. Obviously, starting pitchers were they had a little bit longer leash than they do now.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, going 8 innings wasn't as abnormal as it is now. Certainly,
No,
it
that
wasn't
was
as common as it was, say, in the 70s, but it was not abnormal, especially for the
it.
Braves.
I think you were expected to go seven. If you could go eight, great.
Yeah.
I mean, Maddox would go nine all the time and do it in 76 pitches, but
Yeah.
that's beside the point.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So, and to add some more context, because I try to keep this like, we could just review the series, but remembering the moments, I remember that moment jumping off the couch. More context to this. I mentioned I was a huge college football fan. I still like college football. I still watch it. It's just not the same as it used to be. I'm an Auburn fan, so I can get beat up in the comments on that from Alabama fans or whatever. But Auburn was a huge in my life at that point too, football, and they were actually playing the same night. This was a Saturday night. The Braves clinched this. They were playing Arkansas, and yeah, I remember all this, Mike. And I can't remember what I had
Well,
for breakfast, but I remember this.
no, my thought is can they really get on? It's World Series Game Six,
Yeah,
or or
yeah.
Auburn, Arkansas. Okay, I'm
Well,
going World Series Game Six, no problem.
yes, absolutely. There was no question, but
Yeah,
I did have my uncle he still lived at home then, and I had his TV tuned to Auburn, Arkansas. So I would run down the hall and just check the score and then come back. And it also helped relieve that tension, like not just sitting there the whole time. So
yeah, I
I'm
get
I'm
you.
checking that, and if I remember correctly, Auburn made a big comeback and still ended up losing the game. But yeah, so I'm trying to get rid of this tension and watch both games, but the Braves were the focus. And just to kind of reset from if people have listened to the previous episodes or not, my grandmother in her little chair, she was the closest to the TV. And this was before big screen TVs, guys. This was a normal like tube TV. It was a good TV, but it wasn't what we have now. She's the closest to the TV, and she would cheer like when the Braves did something well. She would clap her hands a little bit, and she would cheer a little bit. My grandfather was very stoic. He didn't show a lot of emotion around sports. I knew he was happy, but I think he just enjoyed more watching us and our reactions and how ridiculous we might look sometimes, how either excited or upset we were, depending on what was happening. My uncle was a Braves fan, and he was in there with us as well, watching it. And so we're all sitting around the living room. This moment that we've just waited for. We've watched the Braves on TBS. We've been through the 162 game seasons. We've listened to the broadcaster, and it's all led up to this moment. And we finally get to the ninth inning, and Mark Wohlers is going to close it out. And you're just, I don't remember those last 3 outs, to be honest with you. I
I do.
vividly remember the last 3 outs of the 2021 World Series, but that was only 4 years ago. Um, I just remember that moment of Marquise Grissom running in, catching the ball. I believe it was Baerga who hit the
Yep,
ball.
it was Bayaga.
Um, and just
Kind of
like, man,
off the end of the bat, flipped it
yes,
into the gap, but
yes.
Grissom ran it down.
Grissom ran it down, and it was just I don't know if it was more relief or elation, but it was an amazing moment. I jumped into my uncle's arms and we hugged, and my grandma is cheering, and my grandfather's just sitting there like watching us. But an amazing moment, Mike. What do you remember from that moment?
I was at college. I basically there might have been someone there with me. I can't remember for sure. I remember I was kind of sitting on the floor, leaning up against my bed, watching it, and hearing Bob Costas say the team of the '90s has its world's championship, and
Yes.
just like because that's all I can, and just like being overly elated that my team won the World Series.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a great call by Costas.
Yep.
Turns out maybe the Yankees were the team in the 90s, but at that moment, it was the Braves at that
They
moment.
hadn't been. They hadn't even been to the World Series at that point. So
That's true.
they
That's
had
true.
they didn't know that.
Yes. And I'm debating whether to do an episode on the heartbreak of 96 in the World Series or not. We'll see. I'd rather just stay right here in this moment. But yeah, no, I'm with you. I remember, just that feeling. And back then, too, we still had this thing, children, called newspapers. And I liked to get the newspaper when my team did something amazing and get the headline, and keep it. And I already had in my mind, got to get that newspaper first thing in the morning, with the headline on it. And so that was a key item I had to grab that Sunday morning was to find the paper with the Braves winning the World Series. And my uncle still has it to this day. So great
It's
stuff.
actually the 95 and 21 ones are from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution
Nice.
are hanging in my bedroom right now.
Very cool. Very cool. I didn't even get the one at 21. The newspapers around here got very thin and not great as we've moved into the digital age. So very cool that you've got those. And Tommy Glavine would be the World Series MVP. And, especially based on that performance, which to this day is still just, it's hard to describe. We've seen a lot of great World Series performances. I think Tommy's gets lost sometimes, but
Yeah.
when you factor in how good that Cleveland offense was, for him to shut them out for 8 innings, one hit, that's pretty good. That's pretty
A,
darn good.
a, a blooper to center by Tony Pena. That's it.
That was it.
That's all it was.
Yep.
And I'm not sure. I can't remember if he had any walks or not, but it, it's at least a no hitter, which so would have been a little bit less than Don Larson's perfect game in '56, but still a no hitter in the World Series would have been outstanding.
It would have been. I can tell you real quick here. I got it. He did walk three. He
Okay.
struck out eight. So we'll let him off the hook for the three walks
Yeah, that's fine.
since he won the World Series.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Wohlers nails it down. That was his fourth save of the World Series, also, which speaks to those one-run games. So finally, the Braves had accomplished the ultimate goal, reached the pinnacle, kind of justified that run that they were on. And yeah, we'll save the negative part of this for another day. We'll have plenty of time to talk about this another day. But for this moment, the Braves were the team of the 90s. This was their third World Series appearance, their first title, first world title of any type of sport for the city of Atlanta.
Hmm.
To this day, they're still the only team in Atlanta to win a major championship. I know some people count the MLS title, and that's fine. That's great for the Atlanta United soccer team. But for the city of Atlanta, I think in the four major sports, the Braves still are the only team, unfortunately for the Falcons, who blew that big lead in the Super Bowl. And this was the first title since the Braves had moved to, and you're a Patriots fan, correct? Right. Yes.
Wasn't going to say a word.
No, well, I'm not a Falcons fan.
Okay.
I was pulling for the Falcons that night just because of their proximity to Atlanta and being an Atlanta sports fan. But my son, Mike, I don't think I mentioned this to you. My son is a big Patriots fan. He grew up loving Tom Brady, and that's the team he chose, living in South Alabama. And he now resides in Boston. I don't remember if I mentioned that to you. He moved to Boston a few months ago.
I think you did mention that
Yeah.
he moved up this way. Is he actually in Boston or is it just
Yes.
down? Okay.
Yeah. He is. So he's very excited. He was very disappointed in today's outcome. I know the
As was I.
Yeah, so tough stuff. But yes, so to this day, the Braves are still the only the sports championship in Atlanta. So, you know, I remember that this was such a moment of, hey, they did it. My grandparents are still here. I experienced it with them. Felt like there were more coming down the pike, and again, we'll get to that eventually. But this was that moment of being a fan that you wait for, and I know there are fan bases that are still waiting for that moment Unfortunately, Cleveland is one of those fan bases that has suffered another two tough World Series losses since this one. And I do feel for those fans because
Yeah.
there's nothing like it. I mean, we went 26 years in between, and there's entire generations of Cubs fans, Red Sox fans, and now Cleveland fans that never got to experience this, Mike. You know, 21 and 95, and we'll talk about 2021 World Series plenty coming up in the next few months. I actually, I think I enjoyed 2021 more just because we weren't supposed to win that one, and it
Yeah.
was more fun. The journey was more fun because every step was like, oh, we got to, we beat the Brewers, we beat the Dodgers. The 95 team was supposed to win, and the pressure was so great on that team.
Yeah. Yeah. And in 21, like the last second at bats in game one and two against the Dodgers,
Yeah.
just and Eddie going out of his mind in the
Yes.
NLCS. You were saying earlier, but like you were the silent excitement that you had. That was me in 21. I'm
Yeah.
out here. I'm in my living room right now. At this point, I have at in 2021. At that point, I had a uh 4 year old and a one, like she was like maybe 14 months old at that point. I could not make a peep because I'm not waking up the kids.
Right. Right.
So I'm out here, like I grabbed a blanket so I could like fall to my knees when they actually win it. I didn't even make a noise with the ground. Like I had to make sure I was as quiet as possible. But yes, I was just going nuts.
Yeah, that 2021 fulfilled my second goal, which was to celebrate a title with my son, who of
Hmm.
course I raised as a Braves fan, and he's adopting the Red Sox as his second team. But I warned him he can never leave his Braves fandom. So um, I'm looking at the box score, by the way, Mike. If I didn't say something about this guy, because I talked about him some in the previous episodes, but Mark Lemke, Braves World Series
Limer.
hero for
Oh,
all time. He had 6 hits in that series in '95, which was more than Ryan Klesko or Dave Justice. They both had five. Chipper had six. Marquise Grissom had 9 hits in the '95 World Series. Kind of forgotten about there.
yeah.
And Luis Polonia, kind of that Eddie Rosario figure of '95. He had 4 hits and an RBI in that series. So, excuse me, 4 RBI in that series. So it was the culmination of so much that we had waited for. John Smoltz pitched in that series as well. Don't want to forget him. Fred McGriff had 6 hits, 3 RBI. So, man, it's great reliving this stuff. It's great reliving the positive side of things. And
Yeah.
I guess to be fair, I will do the next episode on things that happened after this. But if we could have just cut it right here, it'd been great. Um, any other
Just
thoughts, Mike?
stop just before the Leyritz home run, and
Uh,
it'll be fine.
you said that name. I got
Oh, sorry.
indigestion. I said I will. That is. I'll just go ahead and say it. That is the series I've never recovered from. 91 doesn't bother me. 92 doesn't bother me. 99 doesn't bother me. We weren't supposed to win that one.
Got
96
swept.
bothers me. 96 haunts
Yeah.
my dreams.
Because
Um,
we destroyed them in the first two games. That
yeah.
was the part that killed me. And I remember the NLCS against St. Louis, and I'm
Yep.
one of their relievers shut his mouth off and
Yep.
awoken a beast because it
Yes.
was like 15-0 in game seven or something like that. It
Yeah.
was insane.
After being down 3 games to 1, the Braves
Yeah,
came back and kind of rolled into the Bronx. Took the first 2 games. Andrew Jones
two
came on
homers.
the scene. Yeah. So, all right, we're not going down that road tonight. Mike, super excited to have you aboard. You did a great job the other day on the roundtable. Great job tonight. Really excited to have you on board for the 9521. And, we'll talk in January. We're going to have a good preview of the Braves season. As we record this, the Braves have just acquired Robert Suarez to add to that bullpen. They've acquired Mike Yastrzemski in the outfield, making some moves. So we've got a lot to talk about.
We do.
So we invite our listeners to join us for that, all our Braves fans. And if you're not a Braves fan, you just want to hear some good baseball talk, we'll be talking about, I'm sure, all of MLB on that podcast as well. So join us for that. Mike's going to come aboard so I don't talk to myself for 30 minutes and just go off on Alex Anthopoulos. We're going to bring in somebody else that can give us a second opinion and another viewpoint.
Well, I'm excited to come on, and I will try to keep you sane, so you're not talking to yourself the entire time.
Yeah, please. Yeah, we're really excited about that. Excited to have Mike aboard. So, what we'd like to get back to, guys, if you're listening and all our followers on Facebook, we need more stories from you. We had some great fan stories. I've still got a couple in the tank that I'm going to use and bring out, but I would love to hear specifically after this episode anybody out there that has memories of their team winning the World Series and what it felt like and where you were and what you were doing. So, Cub fans from 2016, tell us what was that like? Like we want to hear that story. Red Sox fans from '04, White Sox fans from '05, if I'm getting that right. Yeah, so especially you folks with the long droughts. Let's hear about where you were, what you were doing, how it felt. Cleveland fans, if you could stomach it, we'd love to hear your your thoughts on 95, 97, 2016. All very tough losses, I know, but we'd love to hear your stories. I'm sure you got some positive stories from those seasons as well. So we need your stories. I like to do an episode, Mike. We're gonna do one about myself and then one about our fans and followers. So the next episode, hopefully, I'll have some stories and we'll do that. But Mike, can't thank you enough for being on with us. Appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man. Thank you. Go Braves. And me
Yeah,
and
of
you will
course.
talk soon for the 9521 podcast. And in the meantime, we'll be back with a new episode on December 21st of the Black Sox Scandal Part 2. And my plan is to have episode 3, which will be the final episode of that series, out on New Year's Eve. So over the next couple weeks, you'll be able to finish the story of the 1919 Black Sox infamous scandal throwing the World Series. So stay tuned, folks, to the RAB Podcast Network. We got a lot coming your way, a lot of new stuff coming. And in the meantime, we'll see you at the ballpark.